My daughter filmed me being humiliated at her graduation and got 2 million views laughing at the pathetic old man. I stood there in my only good shirt, holding car keys that trembled in my calloused hands, while her friends recorded my shame. The world didn't just watch me break, it celebrated it. And nobody knew that inside that trash car I gave her was hidden a fortune worth $2.3 million. I'm Vincent Crawford, 58 years old, mechanic, widower, and apparently the punchline of my own daughter's viral moment. 6 months ago, I was just a father trying to give his little girl something special. Today, I'm a dying man who made sure she'd lose everything. And I don't feel guilty about it, not even a little bit. If you've ever been betrayed by the person you sacrificed everything for, if you've ever stood there while someone you loved destroyed you for likes and shares, pull up a chair. This coffee's bitter, but the truth tastes worse. Because what I did next didn't just change her life. It ended the one she thought she deserved. I gave that car away the next morning, signed the papers, handed over the keys, and watched my daughter's entire future drive away with a stranger who actually said, "Thank you." And when Madison found out what was hidden inside, when those lawyers knocked on her door with a lawsuit that would drain her dry, I was sitting in my garage with 8 months left to live, smiling for the first time since my wife died. Subscribe to Grandpa's Diaries if you want to hear how a father's love turns into the kind of revenge that destroys legacies. Because this story doesn't have a happy ending. It has justice. And sometimes, that's better. My hands are shaking as I write this. Not from the cancer eating through my bones, but from remembering her face on that screen, laughing. My own blood, my only child. The girl I raised alone after Claire died, turned me into a meme. 2 million strangers saw me crying. 2 million people watched my daughter spit near my feet and call me a broke embarrassment. But none of those 2 million people knew what I knew. None of them understood that the car they were laughing at was worth more than most of their houses. And absolutely nobody, not Madison, not her rich friends, not a single one of those viewers, knew that I'd hidden documents inside that dashboard that would change everything. Hit that subscribe button, because what comes next will make you question everything you think you know about forgiveness. Madison wasn't always like this. I need you to understand that before you judge me too harshly for what I did. There was a time when that little girl would sit on my toolbox in the garage, legs swinging, asking me 1,000 questions about engines and carburetors. She'd hand me wrenches, even if they were the wrong size, and I'd pretend they were exactly what I needed. Her mother, Claire, would bring us lemonade on summer afternoons, and we'd all sit there covered in grease and sweat, laughing about nothing at all. Those were the days when Madison looked at me like I hung the moon. Those were the days before I became invisible. Claire got sick when Madison was 15. Breast cancer, stage 4, the kind that doesn't ask permission and doesn't take prisoners. I worked triple shifts at the shop to pay for treatments that insurance wouldn't cover. I sold my truck, my tools, everything that wasn't nailed down. Madison watched me fight for her mother with everything I had. And when Claire died 3 years later, I thought it brought us closer. I thought shared grief would make us unbreakable. I was wrong. So incredibly, devastatingly wrong. After the funeral, something shifted in Madison. She got into college, started making friends with money, the kind of people who summered in the Hamptons and wintered in Aspen. She'd come home for holidays smelling like expensive perfume I couldn't afford, talking about restaurants I'd never heard of. I didn't mind. I wanted her to have opportunities I never did. I wanted her to climb higher than I ever could. I just didn't realize that for her to climb, she thought she had to step on my back. The signs were small at first. She'd cringe when I picked her up in my old work van. She'd ask me to drop her off a block away from campus. Once I overheard her tell a friend that her dad worked in automotive services. Like she couldn't bring herself to say the word mechanic. Like my 35 years of honest work were something shameful. I told myself it was just a phase, that she was finding herself, that she'd grow out of it. I kept making excuses because the alternative was admitting my daughter was ashamed of me. Her senior year, she barely called. Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. She always had somewhere else to be, someone else's family to visit. I'd sit alone in the house that still smelled like Claire's cooking, staring at photos of a little girl who used to love me, wondering where I went wrong. The cancer diagnosis came in February, stage 3 pancreatic. The doctors gave me a year, maybe less. I didn't tell Madison. What was the point? She was busy building a life that didn't include me anyway. But I had one last thing to give her. Claire's car, the 1967 Chevy Impala she drove before she got too sick to drive anything. It had been sitting in my garage for years, covered in dust and memories. I decided to restore it, to make it perfect, to give Madison something that connected her to her mother. I thought maybe, just maybe, it would remind her where she came from. I thought it would bring back the daughter who used to love me. I poured every cent I had into that restoration. I sold tools that my own father gave me. I worked until my hands bled and my bones screamed. And I hid something inside it that would have made her rich beyond her wildest dreams. Something Claire had discovered before she died, but never got the chance to tell Madison about. I thought I was building a bridge back to my daughter. Instead, I was building the weapon she'd use to destroy me, and the trap that would destroy her right back. The graduation was in May. I had the car detailed, polished, perfect. I practiced what I'd say when I gave her the keys. I imagined her crying, hugging me, telling me she loved me. I imagined wrong. So catastrophically, irreversibly wrong. The graduation ceremony was on a Saturday in May, one of those perfect spring days where the sky looks photoshopped and everyone's smiling for cameras they'll never look at again. I sat in the back row of folding chairs on the university lawn, surrounded by families who belonged there, wearing suits that fit and taking photos with phones that cost more than my monthly rent. I had my old Canon camera, the one Claire and I got for our anniversary 20 years ago, and I took pictures of Madison crossing that stage even though I knew she'd never want them. After the ceremony, parents swarmed their graduates with flowers and balloons and tears. I waited by the parking lot standing next to Claire's restored Impala, which gleamed like a jewel under the afternoon sun. I'd tied a red bow on the hood. In my pocket was the key and a letter I'd written explaining everything. How her mother drove this car on our first date. How we brought Madison home from the hospital in this back seat. How every piece of chrome and leather had been touched by hands that loved her. I was nervous, excited even, like a kid on Christmas morning. I should have known better. I should have seen it coming. Madison spotted me from across the parking lot. She was with her friends. Tyler with his Mercedes his parents bought him. Amber with her BMW that Daddy's law firm paid for. And a crowd of others I'd never met but recognized from her Instagram. She stopped walking. Her face did this thing, this micro-expression of disgust that lasted maybe half a second before she plastered on a fake smile. That's when I knew. That's the exact moment I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. "Dad, oh my God, what are you doing here?" She said it loud enough for her friends to hear, like my presence was a surprise, like she hadn't sent me the invitation herself 3 months ago. I held up the keys, my hand shaking a little, and told her I had something for her. Her eyes flicked to the Impala, then back to me, and something cold passed over her face. Tyler was already pulling out his phone. I didn't know he was recording. I didn't know this moment was about to be shared with millions. You got me a car?" Madison walked closer, and for a second, I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe she'd see it. Maybe she'd understand. Then she laughed. Not a small laugh, not a nervous giggle, but a full-throated cackle that made her friends join in. "Dad, is this a joke? Please tell me this is a joke." She looked back at Amber and Tyler, performing now, feeding off their attention. "You guys drive BMWs and Audis and my dad brings me this?" I tried to explain. I tried to tell her about the restoration, about her mother, about the 6 months I spent making it perfect. But she cut me off. "Dad, I can't be seen in this. Do you understand? My friends have real cars. New cars. Not some vintage trash from the junkyard." The word trash hit me like a physical blow. Tyler's phone was up, recording everything, and Madison knew it. She played to the camera. She was humiliating me for content and she didn't care. Or worse, she enjoyed it. That's when she threw the keys. Not handed them back, not set them down gently, but threw them at my feet like I was a servant who'd disappointed her. They landed in the dirt next to my worn-out work boots, and I stood there staring at them while her friends laughed and recorded and made me into entertainment. Madison called an Uber right there, pulling out her phone with manicured nails I'd paid for, using money from an account I'd filled with overtime hours. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't say thank you. She just left me standing there like garbage next to the car I'd bled for. I bent down and picked up those keys with hands that suddenly felt very old. Around me, parents and graduates stared, some with pity, some with secondhand embarrassment, some already pulling out their own phones. I got in the Impala, and I drove home in silence, and I didn't cry. I was past crying. I was somewhere beyond sadness, in a place where betrayal turns into something harder, something sharper, something that cuts both ways. When I got home, I sat in my garage until midnight staring at the car, thinking about Claire, thinking about the documents hidden in the dashboard, thinking about what I was going to do next. And somewhere around 2 a.m., when the pain in my gut got so bad I could barely breathe, I made my decision. Madison wanted me erased, so I'd erase her right back. The video went viral by Sunday morning. 2 million views. 2 million strangers watching my daughter destroy me in high definition. I woke up to text messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years, all sending me the same link with crying, laughing emojis. The caption Madison wrote made it worse. When your dad doesn't understand you've moved up in life, love him, but yikes. Here's graduation. Awkward. Sorry, not sorry. The comments were brutal. People called me pathetic, out of touch, a boomer who doesn't get it. Some defended me, but their voices were drowned out by thousands calling me a joke. I sat at my kitchen table watching that video loop over and over, watching myself flinch when she threw the keys, watching my face crumble in real time. I looked old. I looked broken. I looked exactly like what Madison wanted everyone to see. A washed-up mechanic who couldn't keep up with his successful daughter's new world. The comments kept coming. Imagine being this clueless. My dad would never. She handled that so well considering. Each one was a nail in a coffin I didn't know I was building. Each one made the decision easier. Madison didn't call to apologize. She didn't text to explain. Radio silence. I checked her Instagram. She'd posted photos from graduation with her friends, all of them posing next to their luxury cars, living their best lives. I wasn't in a single picture. It was like I'd never been there at all, like I'd been cropped out of her narrative. The pain in my chest wasn't from the cancer. It was from understanding, finally and completely, that I'd lost my daughter long before that parking lot. I'd just been too desperate to see it. Monday morning, I went to the DMV. I had all the paperwork ready. Title, registration, insurance documents. The Impala was in my name. Claire had left it to me when she died, and I'd never transferred it to anyone else. Legally, ethically, morally, it was mine to do with as I pleased. And what pleased me was making sure Madison would never, ever get her hands on it. The clerk processed everything in 20 minutes. Clean transfer. Irrevocable. Done. I walked out of that building feeling lighter than I had in months, like I'd finally stopped carrying something that was crushing me. Sarah Chen was working a double shift at County General when I called her. She'd been Claire's night nurse during those final weeks, the one who held my wife's hand when the pain got too bad, the one who snuck us extra pudding cups and pretended not to notice when I fell asleep in the chair. Sarah was 24, putting herself through nursing school while supporting her mother who had MS. She took 3 buses to get to work every day, and I'd see her at the bus stop sometimes, exhausted but always smiling. "Mr. Crawford, is everything okay?" Her voice was concerned, kind, the way Madison's used to be. I told her I had something for her. She met me at a coffee shop near the hospital, still in her scrubs, confused about why I'd asked her to come. When I slid the keys across the table and told her the Impala was hers, she thought I was joking. When I showed her the title with her name on it, she started crying. "I can't accept this, Mr. Crawford. This is too much. This is..." I cut her off. "You were there when my wife died. You held her hand. You treated her like family. My own daughter can't be bothered to return my calls. You take the car, Sarah. You earned it." She hugged me so hard I thought my ribs would crack, and she kept saying thank you over and over like I'd given her the world. In a way, I had. I just didn't tell her about the documents hidden in the dashboard yet. That revelation could wait. That night, I posted a single photo on Facebook. Me handing Sarah the keys, her crying, the car gleaming behind us. The caption was simple. Some people appreciate kindness. Some people take it for granted. Today I learned the difference. I didn't tag Madison. I didn't need to. Within an hour, her friends started commenting. Wait, isn't that the car from the video? OMG, he actually gave it away. Madison, did you know about this? By midnight, Madison's phone was ringing. My phone stayed silent, and I slept better than I had in months, knowing that the trap was set, the fuse was lit, and there was no stopping what came next. She wanted me gone from her life. Congratulations, baby girl. You got your wish. But you're coming with me. Madison showed up at my house on Tuesday morning, pounding on the door like the police were chasing her. I was in the garage organizing tools I'd probably never use again when I heard her screaming my name. I took my time walking to the door. Let her wait. Let her feel a fraction of what I felt standing in that parking lot while she made me into a spectacle. When I finally opened it, she pushed past me without asking, her face red and blotchy from crying or rage or both. What the hell did you do? She was shaking, holding her phone up like it was evidence in a trial. You gave away Mom's car? To some random nurse? Are you insane? That was my car, Dad, mine. You brought it to my graduation. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, and just stared at her. She looked so much like Claire right then. Same eyes, same cheekbones. But there was nothing of Claire's kindness in her. Just entitlement and fury that someone had dared tell her no. I spoke quietly, calmly, the way you talk to a stranger who means nothing to you. You threw the keys at my feet and called it trash. You said you couldn't be seen in it. So I found someone who could. Someone who said thank you. Someone who deserved it. Madison's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. She hadn't expected this version of me, the one who didn't apologize, didn't beg for her approval. You can't do this. That car is worth money. Real money. I looked it up. A restored 67 Impala is worth at least 15 grand. You just gave it away? 15 grand. She thought that was the whole story. I almost laughed. If she only knew what was really hidden in that dashboard, she'd be on her knees right now, and not just from anger. But I kept my face neutral, emotionless, giving her nothing. The car was in my name. I can do whatever I want with it. You made your choice in that parking lot, Madison. I made mine at the DMV. We're done here. I opened the door, a clear invitation for her to leave. She didn't move. This is about the video, isn't it? You're punishing me because of some stupid video. Her voice cracked, and for a second I almost felt something. Almost. Then I remembered 2 million views. I remembered her laughing. I remembered the comments calling me pathetic while she racked up followers and likes. It wasn't even that bad, Dad. People thought it was funny. You're being so dramatic. Dramatic. The word hung in the air between us like poison. My wife was dead. I was dying. I'd given everything I had to make her happy. And I was being dramatic. Get out of my house. I said it quietly, but something in my tone made her step back. And Madison? Don't come back. Don't call. Don't text. You wanted me out of your new life so badly you broadcast it to the world. Congratulations, you're free, now leave. She stood there for another moment, tears streaming down her face. And I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not guilt, nothing. Just the hollow space where love used to be. She finally left, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall. It was a photo of her 5th birthday, Claire and me on either side of her as she blew out candles. The glass cracked right down the middle, splitting the 3 of us apart. Felt about right. The next 3 weeks were silent. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits. I went to my oncology appointments alone. I sorted through Claire's things, deciding what to keep and what to donate. I wrote letters to people I loved, the kind you write when you know you're running out of time. Sarah sent me photos of the Impala. She'd taken it to car shows, posted it on social media, treated it like the treasure it was. She still didn't know about the documents. I was waiting for the right moment, waiting for all the pieces to fall into place, waiting for Madison to realize exactly what she'd lost. That moment came on a Thursday afternoon in June. I was sitting in my garage, the same garage where I'd taught Madison how to change oil when she was 10, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. On the other end was a lawyer's voice, professional and cold, asking if I was Vincent Crawford, father of Madison Crawford. When I said yes, he dropped the bomb that would detonate my daughter's entire world. Mr. Crawford, we represent Sarah Chen in a property dispute case. We need to discuss certain documents found in a vehicle you recently transferred to Ms. Chen. Documents that indicate ownership of land currently in your daughter's name. We'll be filing suit by end of week. Do you have legal representation? I smiled. Finally, the trap had sprung. No, sir, I said, but my daughter's going to need it. The documents Sarah found were tucked behind the dashboard radio, sealed in waterproof plastic that had kept them pristine for nearly 60 years. Birth certificates, property deeds, marriage licenses. A paper trail that proved Sarah Chen's grandmother and Claire's grandmother were sisters, separated during the Chinese Exclusion Act era and never reunited. More importantly, they proved that the land Claire's family had sold to developers in the 1990s, land that was now worth millions, had been jointly owned by both sisters. The sale had been illegal. The inheritance had been stolen. And Sarah was the rightful heir to half of everything, including the trust fund Madison had been living off since Claire died. Claire had discovered this 6 months before the cancer took her. She'd been doing family genealogy, trying to leave Madison something more than money. A history, a legacy, roots. What she found instead was a crime that had been buried for decades, a family secret that rewrote everything we thought we knew. She'd told me on one of her last good days, made me promise to find Sarah's family and make it right. But then Madison started pulling away, started acting like we were embarrassing relics of a past she wanted to forget. And I'd hidden those documents in the one place I knew they'd be safe until the time was right. Inside a car Madison thought was worthless. Sarah called me crying the day her lawyer explained what she'd found. Mr. Crawford, I don't understand. This says my grandmother owned land. This says I'm owed millions. This can't be real. It was real. Every word, every signature, every stamp. Her lawyer had verified it all. DNA tests confirmed the family connection. Historical records backed up the ownership claims. And the original sale had so many legal holes it was basically Swiss cheese. Sarah could sue for restitution, for damages, for interest accrued over decades. And because the trust fund Madison had been spending came directly from that land sale, Sarah could go after every penny. There's one problem, Sarah's lawyer told me during a conference call I'd agreed to join. Your daughter has already spent approximately $180,000 from the trust. College tuition, living expenses, that BMW she drives. If we win this case, and we will, she'll owe Ms. Chen half of everything, including money she's already spent. She could be looking at bankruptcy. She's 22 years old and this will destroy her financial future before it even starts. He paused, waiting for me to object, to protect my daughter, to do what fathers are supposed to do. I said nothing. Sarah was different. Mr. Crawford, I don't want to destroy Madison. She's your daughter. Maybe we can work something out. Maybe she doesn't have to lose everything. Sweet Sarah, still believing in mercy even when the world had given her none. I respected that. But I also knew my daughter. Madison didn't understand mercy. She understood consequences. And she was about to get a masterclass. File the lawsuit, I told the lawyer. All of it. Every claim. Every dollar. My daughter made her choices. Now she lives with them. The papers were served on a Monday. Madison called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. She left voicemails ranging from confused to panicked, to absolutely hysterical. Dad, there are lawyers at my door. They're saying I stole money. They're saying some nurse owns Mom's trust fund. This is insane. This has to be a mistake. Call me back. Dad, call me back. I listened to each message once, then deleted them. The cancer was getting worse. I was down to 6 months now, maybe less, and I didn't have time for her drama anymore. I'd spent 22 years putting her first. These last months were mine. She showed up at my house again on Wednesday, but this time she wasn't alone. She'd brought a lawyer, some expensive suit who probably charged more per hour than I made in a week when I was working. They barged in. Well, the lawyer knocked and I let them in because I wanted to see this, and Madison immediately started screaming. You did this. You planned this. You hid those documents in that car knowing I'd reject it, knowing you'd give it to her, knowing she'd find them. For the first time since this started, I smiled. A real smile. Because she finally understood. She finally saw exactly how deliberate every move had been. Took you long enough to figure it out, I said, and watched her world collapse in real time. Madison fell to her knees in my living room, and I felt nothing. Her lawyer was talking about settlements and negotiations, throwing around legal terms that meant nothing to me because none of this was about money. It never was. Madison was sobbing, makeup running down her face, looking up at me like I was a stranger. "Dad, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about the video, about what I said, about everything. Please make this stop. I'll delete the video. I'll apologize publicly. I'll do whatever you want. Just make this stop." Too late. Months too late. Years too late, if I'm being honest. "You humiliated me in front of 2 million people," I said, my voice steady despite the pain radiating through my gut. "You called me trash. You threw my love at my feet like it was garbage. You made me a joke because I wasn't rich enough, wasn't good enough, wasn't worthy of being part of your shiny new life. And you know what the worst part is? I would have forgiven all of it if you just called, if you just said sorry. But you didn't. You doubled down. You kept that video up. You kept collecting likes while I was dying inside." Her lawyer tried to interrupt, probably to tell me I was being emotional, that we should discuss this rationally. I held up my hand. "I have stage 3 pancreatic cancer. I've got maybe 6 months left, probably less. Your client took the last good months I had and turned them into a viral humiliation. So no, we're not settling. No, I'm not making this stop. Sarah Chen deserves everything she's about to get, and my daughter deserves everything she's about to lose. That's called consequences. Maybe you've heard of them." Madison's face went white. "You have cancer? You're dying? And you didn't tell me?" The audacity of her offense would have been funny if it wasn't so pathetic. "When was I supposed to tell you? Between the times you ignored my calls or the times you were too busy with your new friends? You made it clear I wasn't part of your life anymore. I just made it official." She reached for my hand and I stepped back. Some doors, once you close them, don't open again, no matter how hard you knock. Her lawyer tried one more angle. "Mr. Crawford, if you cooperate with us, help us prove those documents were planted or obtained illegally, we might be able to minimize your daughter's liability. You're her father. Surely you don't want to see her destroyed." I looked at Madison, really looked at her, trying to find some remnant of the little girl who used to love me. She wasn't there. Maybe she never had been. Maybe I'd been loving a ghost for years. I spent my whole life building a future for her. She spent 10 minutes destroying me for entertainment. "We're done here. Take her home." They left. Madison was still crying, still begging, but her words sounded hollow now, practiced, like dialogue from a script she thought would work on me. After they were gone, I sat in Claire's chair, the one I'd kept even though it didn't match anything else, and I thought about forgiveness. People always say you should forgive because holding grudges hurts you more than them. But you know what? Sometimes watching someone face consequences for their actions is healing. Sometimes justice feels better than forgiveness. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, and you're just there to lock the door behind it. So here's what I want to know from you, from anyone listening to this old man's last story. When is enough? Enough. When do you stop letting people hurt you in the name of love? When do you stop setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm? My daughter wanted me erased from her perfect life. I granted her wish. And if that makes me a bad father, well, I've been called worse by 2 million strangers. At least I can die knowing I stood up for myself once. Just once, before it was too late. If this story hit you somewhere deep, if you've ever been treated like you're not good enough by the people who should love you most, leave me a comment. Tell me your story. And don't forget to subscribe to Grandpa's Diaries. I've got a few more months and a few more truths to tell before I'm gone. Some bridges you burn, some you blow up completely, and sometimes that's exactly what they deserve.